All right, welcome everyone. Apologies, we're getting started just a little bit late here. We are having some slight technical difficulties. We're working on getting our final panelist on here. So we'll get things started and do some intros, and hopefully we can get him on before we dive into the meat of this. But welcome and thank you for attending our Prosper recap. For those of you who have joined us before, you know these are kind of a very casual thing. We take questions throughout the entire session. So this is a great time for me to mention we have a Q&A and we have a chat. If you have questions, drop them in the Q&A. You'll see that at the bottom of your screen. Put your questions there in the Q&A. We will answer them as we go or as they pertain to a section we're talking about, if it's something we plan to get into a little bit later. If you have general chat, like at the beginning, we love if you tell us where you are joining us from. If you're a current client, anything you want to share, drop that in the chat. We keep monitoring that as the webinar goes on, and we love to see who's here and where you're joining us from. But just remember Q&A, put that in or questions, put those in the Q&A so we can keep track of those easily and be able to answer them and not lose track of them. Prosper is the topic today. We are recapping the 2024 Prosper show, 2024 Prosper show. And we have some guests joining us today, all from AO2. So some Prosper veterans, some people who've been to Prosper a few times, but really some great knowledge to share from the e-commerce world. Like I mentioned, we are trying to get one more panelist on here, but while we're waiting, I'm going to mute myself so I can go assist with that technical difficulty. And I'm going to kick it over to Will. Introduce yourself. And then if you want to follow up, Alexi, that'll give me just a little bit more time to figure this out.
Of course. Thank you, Jess. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you today. My name is William. I'm the Senior Director of Sales here at AO2. As Jess mentioned, I'm one of the, I've been with Prosper and been around Prosper for a long, long time now. And so with that, I just wanted to, explain how excited I am for this opportunity. Again, just kind of share some insight. I've watched Prosper grow through the decades to see where it is now. My role and really what I do is look for that new business, that new opportunity, how we can utilize this information on the front lines, working with brands like yourselves, just really seeing how we can implement that new information. So if you have any questions about just kind of how to get engaged in this, how to start things off, I'm definitely going to be that point of contact and happy to connect after the show even and have more of a one-on-one interaction to see if there's any new programs or any of the things talked about today that you might be interested in learning more about. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'll go ahead and pass this over to my colleague and teammate, Alexi. You want to take it from there?
Yeah, I'm Alexi. I'm sure I've met a lot of you that are on this webinar if you're a client of ours, but I am the account director in charge of all of our Amazon accounts. So I oversee that team that works with you one-on-one to help with that overarching strategy and such. So this was my third trip to Vegas. Only ever gone for Prosper, only ever hung out with Jess at Prosper. So was happy to get to do that, and Prosper has grown and changed even in the last 3 years that I've been able to attend it. It's just amazing, especially in this post-COVID world, what those adjustments are. And a lot of the things that they were mentioning, even at, we heard it at Unbox of like meeting your customer where they are, Prosper across, every platform of Amazon and Walmart and, Target and Temu and, everything that's kind of TikTok shop. It's really is meeting that customer where they are. And that is just kind of I don't know, it's like the underlying theme, I think, across a lot of e-commerce right now, is trying to get in front of your customer on their TV, through influencers, through TikTok. Like, how can we meet them where it's easier and more approachable, and less just an ad that you're seeing. So, but yeah, I'll pass it back over to Jess to kind of tie things back together.
Yeah, so just really quickly, while we're waiting for our last panelist, I think he is almost in. We're getting closer and closer. So he'll be here in just a second. So I just want to give a quick just overview of what Prosper is. For those of you who are joining us, you might just be joining because you follow AO2 and you love the knowledge we have to share, but you may never have actually attended the Prosper Show before or be familiar with the Prosper Show. So like Will mentioned, he's been to a number of Prosper shows, and I would love, Will, if you could just give us a kind of a recap of what Prosper has been and what your experience with Prosper has been, so that we can get everyone up to speed on exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
Love to. Thank you, Jess. Yeah, so like I mentioned, I've been with Prosper for a long time, had the opportunity to be interactable with it, speak at a couple things, as well as just kind of be around on the floor. You've probably seen my bald head and big old smile walking around. But originally when Prosper first started, it was just the forefront or thought leader that really came to a fruition, that was started by a gentleman named James Thompson. That was just, again, one of the largest thought leaders when it came to Amazon and how to function there. And it was a very Amazon focused conference. For a long time, Prosper was the largest and only real focused Amazon conference. Everything else was just e-com in general and overall marketing. So with this, as those partners started to grow, I remember started watching, oh man, there's a random person that has nothing to do with Amazon about 2 years later. And then you just started watching it grow and grow and grow. The show originally started with only having anywhere from 300 to 500 people for the first couple of years. And then out of nowhere, it grew into what it is today, which was fantastic. I actually was walking around and gave James Thompson a call to say, hey, I'm like walking around in your prosperity. This is amazing just to see the influence and the impact that this has, and to watch Jeff Cohen kind of, push that even farther, and to see where things can go. And then even to be blessed here at AO2 to have someone that, pushes a lot of these initiatives. And Jess is actually a instrumental part in being a board member, has helped grow Prosper to what it is, where outside of just Amazon, now we're looking at other partners and other things that we can do just general in e-com. And that is what Prosper is today. It is not the world's largest, but it's getting there. We're growing. We love it. And we're really trying to push that show to continue to become what it is. And we're really excited to watch, the new initiatives that Jess and us and all of us are going to talk about today. But again, what it originally started with was just an information area where you can go and share your thoughts. And honestly, we all can kind of talk about the pains that come with Amazon, the 800-pound gorilla that we've all grown to love and hate and have all these mixed emotions with. It's kind of that weird stepchild that you have to deal with sometimes. You're like, how do I make it profitable? But dang, it is difficult. So that's what it is today. But I want to hand it back to Jess to kind of talk about what it's evolved to through the years now, and really what the future looks like.
Yeah, and Will kind of touched on it, and I'm really excited for the future of Prosper. And as he mentioned, I am on the advisory council for the show, so I do get to help kind of plan and move these things forward. So anyone joining us here today, if you have feedback, things you'd like to see, things you loved or hated, definitely drop those in the chat here. Reach out to us after the fact, because we'd love to incorporate that into planning for next year. But yeah, Prosper has evolved quite a bit from being really at its time the biggest and the only show really focused on Amazon, and giving us that platform, like Will said, to discuss our struggles with working with Amazon, to now encompassing more of the general e-commerce, that omni-channel feel, covering other marketplaces. And I think giving us that platform as things evolve in e-commerce to discuss our grievances with the other marketplaces as they grow. And we inevitably are going to find we're having those same frustrations, the same needs that hopefully AO2 can be a great partner in helping you with to resolve. But Prosper is one of those shows that's always going to be a great place to go meet people in the same space who are having the same issues and discuss those things. So that is Prosper in a nutshell. That's what we're discussing today, specifically 2024, what we learned this year, and kind of some key takeaways and things we're seeing emerge from the show. But really quickly, before we dive into that, Nathan has joined us. A little bit of technical difficulties. Also, founder CEO of AO2, so a very busy man. Makes sense that he may have had to jump in a little bit late. But Nate, if you want to just take a minute to introduce yourself, want to give you that chance before we dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here, Jess. Really excited to be involved in more of our webinars. So hope you all enjoy listening to me. But yeah, overall, Prosper was, as always, a great show. And there's a really interesting parallel with, I think Will mentioned Jeff Cohen and James Thompson, right, playing such a big role in growing Prosper. They also both played massive roles in helping grow Stellar Labs with Jeff Cohen, who was there, and also James Thompson, who helped on the AO2 side, as Buybox was our very first partner as we were just starting out many years ago. Oh, so much to them. So it's always, whether it's with Jeff and James or with, all the great people at Prosper I could spend the rest of the webinar naming, it's always such a great experience getting together with people who care about what you care about, Amazon or e-commerce, and then that also you care about each other, right? Just having those relationships and that time together, it's kind of like it's a win-win, right? You're getting two things done at the same time. So overall for me, it was an incredible event, and like Jess said, I'm excited to be here, CEO, founder of AO2, and really looking forward to talking more about some of the things that I learned at the show as we go through this.
Well, thank you for joining us. Glad you could be here. To all of you. To kick things off, real quick reminder, questions go in the Q&A. As we get started talking, we know you're going to have questions. We will answer them throughout, but throw those in the Q&A. Any other general chat or chit chat, we want to see that in the chat. We love an active chat, but that's why we want the questions in the Q&A so we don't miss your questions. We'll kick things off now with a poll. There were 4 main talking tracks this year at Prosper, and so we want to see what you guys are most interested in learning about. So we have growth opportunities, marketing and advertising, seller ops and business strategy, and then trends and insights. We're going to try and cover all 4 of these today, but there's a lot to tackle in all of it. So you should see that poll up on your screen. If you would take just a second, you can choose more. Let us know which ones you're most interested in, and that will kind of help us decide where to start this conversation. Although right now we are pretty even on everything, so it may end up being dealer's choice here, but things are shifting around. We're going to give it another 5 seconds, and then we will end this poll, so get your answers in. All right, so pretty even split between growth opportunities and marketing and advertising. So we'll just kind of go in order there and then work our way down. So growth opportunities at Prosper this year really encompassed a couple of different things. As we mentioned at the beginning, Prosper is no longer just the Amazon show, but it does still focus very heavily on Amazon. So growth opportunities could be expanding into additional Amazon marketplaces, international, using NARF and fulfilling for North America, but it could also be like brick and mortar expansion. There was a whole session at Amazon talking about expanding into traditional retail or other marketplaces, right? TikTok had a presence there, and Walmart had a much bigger presence than is typical. So we were starting to see some of those other marketplaces, and then we've got a whole other branch of e-commerce, social commerce, Google, Facebook, I'm forgetting something, Shopify, all of those things. So I actually would love to throw it out to the panelists. If anybody has a talking point they want to start with here. I know, Nathan, you're big on Japan and the Japanese marketplace, but if anybody has something they want to kind of kick us off with, otherwise I can throw out a prompt. But yeah, any of those expansion opportunities that you really saw at Prosper that you're super excited about?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Always excited about Japan, anything to do with Amazon Japan in general, but not much at the show this year. But one thing, big shout out to Jess, actually, funny story, she had reached out to TikTok to have them come up to the show. And they, of course, did. Everyone that, went to the TikTok booth, shout out to Jess for making that happen. But what was hilarious is an old colleague of mine, Cjo, was actually the one kind of running the booth. So it was great to be able to reconnect with him, and going through the TikTok marketplace and having them go in. There was like that little room you could go into at their booth to get that, I guess, walkthrough tutorial was something that I thought was spectacular, something that, we normally wouldn't see at Prosper or at a booth. So I thought that TikTok overall did a great job at displaying the new platform.
Yeah, and what the new platform is TikTok Shop, for those of you who aren't familiar. It's definitely an emerging marketplace. TikTok is going after, brands hot and heavy. For those, I don't use TikTok. So if someone here uses, any of the panelists use TikTok and you have like better explanation than me, please chime in. But, you know, traditionally TikTok has been a place where influencers and content creators come on and they promote products, but then users have to leave TikTok to go somewhere else to buy the product. And so TikTok Shop is kind of bridging that gap so that now when products are being promoted on site, they can be purchased on site and directly from the brand. So they are, you know, heavily recruiting brands to come join TikTok Shop and start, you know, having that be an alternate sales channel. And I know, Will, this is probably something you're excited about being, you know, in charge of sales here, for us to have the opportunity to potentially offer that as a service moving forward.
Yeah, I would love to talk. There's a couple things, not only that TikTok is in the business of building community. And that is something in this day and age, and having that, you with brands and selling products, you have to have a following. It's not something anymore where reviews are even really doing the touch to get that converting factor, anything like that. It's what are my friends using? What are this person? What's that one celebrity or that one fitness person that I just absolutely respect? What are their products? And we're watching a shift in the social media, and not even that, even in just digital age and video games. For those that don't know Roblox or know that's a kind of a big game out there right now, they're starting to launch a ton of exposure into there. And TikTok actually started that kind of leg up there and in that TikTok Shop. With that, as Jess says, I'm on the front lines, talk to a lot of people looking for that growth, which means I shop on all of these platforms just to stay involved in the system. And I've been really impressed to watch kind of the growth that TikTok has shown in a very short amount of time. Originally, it would take me 3 weeks to order a product from TikTok. You order it, the shipping was a nightmare. You felt a little sketch. You're having to link different payment things. To now, they've started to streamline it closer, mimicking more of an Amazon, Walmart model, which is really, really awesome. But it's also one of the faster growing platforms. Now, I'm sure a lot of us are nervous here with what we've been seeing in the news and just kind of what's going on. Where is TikTok going to go? Well, there's too much money being dealt with on TikTok now, and that marketplace is growing so quickly that we feel really confident that no matter what happens, somehow it's going to still be here. There's going to be some iteration of it, and it is definitely worth our investment. That is why AO2 is looking for more of a strategic partnership, and we're already engaging in that to bring that to our customers, because really we need to find a better way to start growing communities around all of our selling channels. And TikTok and Instagram, social media are the only real channels that we can do that are continually trusted, invested by the consumers. So that's the main point I just wanted to bring up real quick. Again, with Nathan being in that room, it was so cool to watch. Not only that, but just the line, the excitement around that platform. They were the show stoppers. As we were walking around, people knew how close we are, and they were asking us, hey, next year, can my booth be next to TikTok's? Hey, can I get over there? Like, that's where the attraction is. So we understand that that's where the eyes are. So there's definitely a lot to come close to that. Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, and Will, you hit on a question. I don't know if you saw it or not, but we did get a question that came in. If TikTok was banned in the US, will TikTok Shop still be there? And yeah, I mean, as Will said, it is of course of concern. It's something that we are watching as we plan things. But yeah, like Will said, I think there's just too much invested, and TikTok does have US offices, right? There's an office in Austin, there's one in Seattle, I think one in
LA.
New York as well. So they're heavily invested in having that US presence. So I can only imagine we are definitely like just kind of guessing and saying, you know, what we truly feel based on the you know, the expert information we've read. But I agree with Will. I think that TikTok Shop will be here to stay. It's just how will it evolve? And you know, what things will have to kind of change to support that.
Yeah, quick.
One little side point. Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I would just say that, you know, there is like a 6-month window for TikTok to sell, and no one has the crystal ball. We don't know if they will, but you know, these things can get drawn out for a very long time just based on history. Everyone knows, you know, the history of, right, the house and Amazon with different things that they push back on Amazon, which we could have a whole podcast about. But what I would say is I wouldn't let the absolute potential, like it could happen of TikTok getting banned, stop you from getting on TikTok Shop, because you don't know if or more importantly when that's going to happen. It could be drawn out for years. So
Yep.
The platform is growing now, so whether you know need some help from us, or you can do it, or you have a friend, a sister, whatever, I would highly recommend getting on TikTok Shop.
Yes. The other part I wanted to just mention is TikTok is everywhere else as well. So yes, the US market might potentially, well, fingers crossed, be shut, but there's still a European market. They are globally everywhere and actually getting into countries that Amazon doesn't even touch. So it actually will still grow your ability to sell and touch different consumers. So no matter what, it is most definitely a platform to invest in. Yes, maybe the big gorilla of US might be gone eventually, but there's so many other opportunities that we can leverage. And again, the educational value that TikTok you can utilize for it, that alone, even if we can't get into the shop, is worth the investment.
Yeah, and the community building, but well, that was a really good point. We really are only talking about what may happen with it here in the US, but there's so many other markets to leverage for TikTok. Scale it up now, learn it, because even if anything changes with the US, you can still, employ that in other areas, and that might be your key to expansion into other markets. Okay, so yeah, let's stay on that marketplace topic. Walmart had a presence at the show. Shein, am I saying that one right? Newegg,
Yeah.
uh, Tiendemia. There were a ton of marketplaces at the show. Anything any of you want to kind of mention about those? I know, oh, Alexia, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. No, I mean, even just in the last couple years, I feel like 3 years ago, Walmart was kind of talked about. Last year, they were kind of at Prosper for the first time officially. And then this year, they really Walmart had like its own connection place. They had like their own little corner where it was only talking about Walmart in sessions, all day, both of the days. They had little 20, 30-minute sessions that were all really good about Walmart specifically. And I think with so many sellers running into the issues with, fee increases and things with Amazon, Walmart is getting more and more enticing. There's a lower barrier for entry. Even when it comes to ad management, it's, a much smaller competition right now. The cost, the CPC is half the amount of what it is on Amazon for a lot of categories. So depending on what your clientele is, it does tend to be a little less expensive products do better on Walmart, but depending on what, where you're looking to expand, Walmarts are everywhere. They're getting stuff to customers fast because there are Walmarts all over the country. And so even when Amazon's dealing with delays and, getting things into the warehouse, Walmart's been able to kind of pick up that lag, and that turnaround time during Q4 too was, very good on Walmart. So I would say it's going to continue to be a big presence. We, joke that it's a baby Amazon, but at some point, as that ball keeps rolling down the hill and getting bigger, it's just going to keep expanding.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of Walmart's distribution network, and I think that's a really key point with Walmart that, a lot of people maybe don't think about that. Amazon started out as a store and had to figure out the logistics piece. Walmart already had that logistics piece in place, right? Because they were a physical brick and mortar store. So they're able to scale some things up and build some processes a lot more quickly than Amazon was able to do those same things. So yeah, Walmart's definitely coming fast, and it's already a big piece, I think, of a lot of our, the AO2 client business. But there's still a lot more room there. And from what I understand, Alexia, you may be able to talk about this more, advertising on Walmart has come a long way. I think that in early days, it was very confusing. It was not at all similar to Amazon. People felt like they were wasting money, and that's changed a lot.
Yeah, it really has. And that's why I bring up like the CPC being so much lower. I mean, when we first talked about, getting clients onto Walmart and testing a few, if you're familiar with Amazon ads, you're able, on Amazon, you're running all sorts of types of targeting. But you could do auto targeting, but then you couldn't negate anything on Walmart, and so that if you know anything about ads, that's a big deal not to be able to negate, and like that was causing a lot of wasted spend, as Jess mentioned. So even that has just really, added the targeting. You're able to utilize, Helium 10 and other partners who get that data from both Walmart and Amazon and Google to kind of funnel in. And a lot of their strategies can kind of be carried over from one platform to another. small adjustments, tweaks to be made to your listings based on what the customer wants, the customer's looking for on each platform. But, you know, you don't have to start from square one like you do when you're launching something brand new. You know, there's a lot of copy over from your website, a lot of research you've already done, time you've already done, that can be carried over to the platform on ads and in just general.
Yeah, really, really good points, all of that. And of course, you know, I'm not the salesperson here, but I will sell it a little bit. Walmart is another service that AO2 does. I hate to make these too salesy, but I think when we're kind of giving you these ideas of all of these things you can go touch and play around with, you know, we want to make it actionable too. So if it's something you want to check out and you are a client or you've considered becoming a client of ours, this is something else we can help with if you're looking for that help. It's a big part of our omni-channel business, and you know, we're happy to help you continue to grow.
A thing I want to mention in here that's really important is in all business, it's always really important to diversify your selling strategy. And really what we're hitting on here is finding ways to really be able to touch as many different people as we can, but do it in as many areas that we can maybe control the saturation. Amazon has been around for long enough now and it's established itself. It is expensive and it is hard to find really good success and long-term success on Amazon. So these other platforms like Walmart is going to be very similar soon. So we do need to key in on also some of these other players that we already mentioned on this call, like Ease. TN Diam is one of my most exciting ones that I think of a huge opportunity, where you have access to over 500 million people in the Latin American countries that Amazon doesn't touch. So it's a whole untapped market potential. And that's a big strategy here at AO2 of how can we help all of our brand partners, one, educate them on how to diversify, and then figure out channels that are worth the investment based upon your product and that research. So if you have questions, it's not even just about the sales. If you just are curious about these, reach out to us because we can at least start those conversations. We have a lot more information in these areas, but do remember, in the day and age that we are in with Facebook, TikTok, TN, Ease, you really need to diversify your strategy. If we all remember COVID time, there was some trouble on Amazon and people started to look pretty scary and it looked pretty bleak out there. And so it's really bad when you have 80% of your business on one channel. So really make sure we're finding ways to diversify and shore up some channels so we can take care of that. Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tandemia. I do, before we move on, somehow we're already halfway through our hour. These things, like, it always goes so quickly and we never get to all the points we want to cover. But that marketplace is a really interesting one to me, and AO2 is working on a partnership there as well, so we can help, you know, more clients to scale. But if you think your product is something that you know, would be a good fit for those South American, Latin American markets, that is one that is really growing. They're not new, but they're kind of still in that kind of growth phase, and they make it really easy. They kind of serve as both your broker / freight forwarder. You sell in the US, in US funds to customers in those countries, and then they get the product where it needs to go. They handle QC when it goes to their warehouse, so that you know, make sure what goes to the customer is the right thing in the right condition, minimize returns. I think across the board, they're like a 2 to 3% return rate on products. So it's just, it's a really appealing marketplace to check out. And Will, do you still have those numbers handy that you just rattled off? Because those were some pretty big numbers of the customer base you could reach.
Yeah, so it's 500 million across the Latin America area, which is diversified across 10 different countries and markets that are there, all of which right now say are untapped by Amazon. So it's all areas, and that's where they're focused, and it's based out of Miami. So really what you're able to do is send all of your products there in Miami. They have the warehouses, and then it's a one-step integration. They're going to take care of even translation. They take care of any of the other materials that are needed and take care of customs. One big point I wanted to bring up is there's no FX exposure, no tax integration, and customers fraud risk. All of those are protected through their platform. So they've really tried to take the bullet first to make sure they can entice as many brands over here as possible. But it is really cool to see, and it's already been going. It actually says here, for over 5 years currently, with a 60% growth year over year. So that's pretty phenomenal just to watch this thing really, really build up. And currently it offers over 2 million products.
Yeah, so huge opportunity there. And that's just one of the 5 or 6 different marketplaces that had a presence this year at Prosper. So we can, bring you this information, give you the recap, share as much as we can, but that's just kind of, again, showing you what a wealth of knowledge and opportunity this particular conference is. Anyone else have any other marketplaces specifically? Anything you want to talk about on the marketplaces? Otherwise, I think we'll launch a survey so we can follow up with future webinars on some more specific marketplaces. So if we can launch that poll on marketplace expansion, that would be great. Give everybody about 30 seconds to answer that, and then we'll move on to the next topic. So any of these marketplaces you are interested in, let us know. We want to be able to bring you more curated content specifically on these marketplaces, so we can dedicate more time, since we somehow already spent 30 minutes or close to it today just getting through a few of them. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds, get those answers in, and then we'll close out this poll and move on to the next topic. All right. So we'll have some feedback on that after the fact. Look out for more webinar news. We do one of these a month at a minimum. We will also partner with some of our other service providers, and maybe even some of these marketplaces, to bring you content more quickly and more in depth if we can. We do have in this same topic area, international expansion. I will have another poll I want to launch for that, because I want to make sure we're covering the marketplaces that our viewers are looking for in the future. But while we're launching this poll and just getting that feedback for future, anything any of you guys want to talk about for Amazon Marketplace international expansion as it pertains to anything you learned or saw at Prosper? And it's okay if not, but.
No, I would just say we're a lot of brands, if you're not familiar, you're selling in the US, there's the North American remote fulfillment option that you have for both Canada and Mexico. And recently they've added Brazil into that, into NARF. NARF is short term. I find it funny. But yeah, NARF. So adding other countries, like Brazil into that for that opportunity, testing the Latin American, communities, trying to do that. So a lot of our clients, some are doing it, some are not. So I'm curious to see kind of how it expands. But, Germany and the UK are huge European markets, and they have a very good connection. If you're able to get stuff out to Europe into one place, they can kind of, ship out to the rest of the European countries as well. So I think those are kind of the big pieces that Amazon is really trying to make the barrier for entry lower on the brands to get their products across, all of the world, and not just, in the US.
Yeah, and on the North American remote fulfillment, Brazil, for anybody who doesn't know, I'll just take this opportunity, and then Nathan, I think you want to say something, sorry. For anybody who hasn't seen it in Seller Central, you have about 30 days right now to opt out of North American remote fulfillment for Brazil if you don't want to be automatically enrolled. So take a look at that. If it's great for your business, you can opt in early. You can go now and kick it off right away. If you're not sure and you don't want your products to be shipping over to Brazil, then go ahead and follow that link in Seller Central to opt out now. I think April 30th, I think, is the date. If that's something you're really concerned about, definitely chat us here. Let us know. We'll make sure we get you the right information on that. But that's just something to keep an eye out on, because that Brazilian market is new, and Amazon is kind of starting to roll some things out with that.
Awesome. That's great. I know a lot of people were like afraid of that email and just click no, like, oh no. So
Yeah.
Good. Hopefully that's some helpful information. I have a lot I'd want to say about the international markets, because I love it. But spoiler alert, maybe Jesse don't want to say this, but we are planning a new webinar in the future to have panelists that specialize in each country, like Gary, Elias from Lemon Basil, each. So I think we can get more into it there, so we could talk about some of the other great strategies from Prosper.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have some numbers that I think, would be good to share. We've already polled, we've kind of asked you what you're interested in, but want to share these numbers real quick, just so you can be thinking on this. And if you want to give us some more feedback, again, in the chat or after the fact, we'd love to hear more to help us kind of, figure out which areas to cover and who to have on. But right now, the biggest markets for Amazon, of course, US, we know that's like the biggest market. That accounts for, in 2023, $356 billion in sales. The next biggest market after the US is Germany with 34 billion. So there's quite a drop off there. If you're selling in the US, you're doing good. You don't have to be like spreading yourself thin, but 34 billion is nothing to sneeze at. Like that, there's money there, there's opportunity. And then the UK is not far behind that at 30 billion in sales in 2023. And then I know this one is a big deal to Nathan, Japan, 24 billion. So like number 4, that's major. And these 4 make up like 90% of all sales on all Amazon marketplaces. Everything else accounts, every other market accounts for, you know, the rest of that 10% or whatever it is. My math might be wrong, so hopefully none of you are quick at math and are checking me on that. But somewhere around that, I know US is 70%. The rest makes up, everything else outside of the US is 30%. So there is a lot of opportunity. But if you're killing it in the US, good job. You're doing great, and we want to help you, you know, expand when you're ready, and help, you know, give you more information on those things. But now we are about 40 minutes in, so we've got to jump to the next topic. And I'm gonna choose, unless any of the panelists have one they feel really passionately about, because we were pretty even on most of these. I really want to get into the trends and insights that came out of Prosper, because I think there's a lot to unpack there in one topic alone, which was the AI. I had the opportunity to attend the AI hackathon, which was just this really cool, innovative thing, never been done at Prosper before, where basically a room full of people got together, separated into teams, and created a brand, a product, and everything associated with selling that product. Basically brought a product to market using all AI tools. So created the product, you know, did product feedback, created images for the product, all AI tools. And I think that was like a really great kind of benchmark for like what was the trend at Prosper this year. And beyond expansion, omni-channel, kind of diversifying your sales, AI was that next big trendy topic that was everywhere, from the booths to the sessions. And I'd love to hear from the panelists, you know, something that was, oh, actually, sorry, guys. We have a question that I missed. Pros and cons for remote fulfillment. So before we get too much into the next topic, Alexi, you brought up NARF, North American Remote Fulfillment. Someone asked, what are the pros and cons for remote fulfillment? I don't know if you have any talking points on that. I definitely have some too that I can share.
Yeah, and we can pass that along too with like some of our pros and cons, and for specific brands it can vary. So even like, you know, supplements and some of the categories that you can't really participate in remote fulfillment
Good call.
because of different regulations in the different countries. I think that can be a barrier to entry for a lot of brands. And then, you know, just measuring the cost differences. For some brands it's way more economical to do North American remote fulfillment, and for some it doesn't pan out to be as economical for you. So I think some of those to me are kind of the two big pros, like can be pros, but can be cons depending on what, you know, depending on the brand.
Yeah, and I think another, you know, pro is it's an opportunity to test your product in another market.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say, Nathan?
Yeah, testing it, and as soon as you're starting to see results, for 95% of products out there, get out of NARF, because it takes so long for the product to get there. The fees are so much higher, and we have a incredible partnership with a Canadian 3PL that we use. That is, I like, we have the best rates I've ever seen, and so we're able to be that fulfillment partner to be able to send all of the products into Amazon and fulfill in Canada. And you're able to get the product there, right, be on Prime, and you're able to cut those Amazon fees substantially by not being in NARF. But always good to do NARF at first.
Yeah, as a test. But like Nathan just said, you know, being in that you don't really have that same Prime quick delivery, and that, as you know, in the US, that really makes a difference for the sell-through of your product. So it's a real slow, easy test, easy way to get your foot in the door, test out the market, but it's not going to give you US volume of sales. All right, sorry. Back on track. AI, huge topic, so many things to talk about here. It was really cool to see people kind of like testing it out real time, but would love to hear from the team what you saw that you thought was the coolest, what, new tools, tips, tricks, all of those things as it pertains to AI.
Yeah, I want to chime in here just first because mine's a lot smaller, but I just want to kind of share some insight that I'm seeing again, just with the amount of brands that I'm encountering on a daily basis. AI is one of the largest topics that get brought up to me. In fact, I recently, in the last few weeks, have been encountered by 3-4 brands that are almost completely AI backed. Everything from every creative, every brand, every package was all AI generated. And then just to see how things were going, to see that, yes, this is a direction moving, but it's still underperforming. There's a reason they came to us. They've been implementing all AI strategy, and yet they're not even able to break into the first 1 to 2 pages. So just know that AI is amazing and we're all working towards it and we're really excited, but it's still not quite at the level that we need to. Now we got to keep using it to make it smarter, but please do know that AI is a great tool, but not the solution.
Yeah, I really, your point of we need to keep using it to make it smarter. I don't know that everyone recognizes that, like, it learns from us. So we can make it smarter or we can make it dumber. And I would love to share. I didn't really plan to share my screen, but I'm going to try it now. So let me know if you can see this, because I shared it with the team recently. Can you guys see that? So this is like, some of you may already have seen this. I'll share the link in the chat too. It's just like a recent AI fail. Anybody who's heard me talk about AI and Amazon knows that I have been very hesitant. It makes me very nervous because it's so easy to do things wrong on Amazon. It's you follow all the rules and you do everything very manually to get it right, and you still get in trouble with Amazon. So using AI and just letting a robot essentially like develop things for you, to me has been very scary. And so these are some really funny AI fails. I'll share the link, but basically, like, if you are not being very diligent with the AI, if you're not training it, if you're not giving it the right prompts, it's gonna do the wrong things. There were some more here where it, let's see if I have it, and if not, I'll just share the link. But yeah, I mean, every single one of these, it's just somebody used AI but did not do their due diligence and follow up and make sure that the AI said the right things or did the right things. So the more you train it, the better it's going to get, but review it with like a human eye first, because it's a little dangerous to put up a listing like this on Amazon. And it's definitely not ideal, even if you don't get in trouble for it.
Jess, I just want to call out something I've been kind of telling brands that a lot of people have enjoyed is just remember the day and age of there's no dumb questions. Well, in the age of AI, there's a lot of dumb questions. It's all about how you put it in the query. And if you don't query correctly, you're going to get something really weird spitting out. I've used it in my own personal life, either for basic codings and things like that. And I do it. I'm like, oh, this doesn't work like everyone else says it. And then I read through my query and look at examples. I go, oh, that was a dumb way to write it. That was not the correct solution. And it could be off by 1 or 2 words. So it's as simple as that. So if you do have questions, we do have some experts, so please reach out. We'd be happy to give some, maybe if people are interested in training in the future of how to properly, or some safe tips and tricks of how to utilize it and what is a good area to utilize it with your e-com. We'd be happy to kind of assist and kind of show you some of the things that we're doing. But again, it's all about the questions. So there are dumb questions now. Don't say there's no dumb questions. Definitely when it comes to open source. Thank you.
Yeah. And that also just reminded me, you need to be careful. It is open source, right? Privacy concerns. Don't plug anything into AI that you don't want to potentially become public knowledge, or make sure you're checking the right boxes to turn off those tools. Or Amazon has put out some great tools for you to use within Amazon for your Amazon listings. And so if you're looking at this specifically for Amazon, those can be some kind of safer places to work on the things for your Amazon listings. There's quite a few new tools that came out. I know, Alexi, you got a chance to see some at Unboxed. So if you have any of those you want to talk about, or anybody else, you know, any of those tools, but it just like in the last 6 months, these have kind of blown up. I know that we have at least one person on here too from Amazon Ads. So forgive us if we get anything wrong, definitely chime in the chat, tell us. But yeah, any of those Amazon specific tools we want to share about?
Yeah, I think one of the bigger things that, you know, with the image creation of with allowing, you know, brands and or agencies to kind of plug in a query of some sort, as Will said, being very specific about what you want, and then it'll spit out, you know, you want a toaster sitting on the counter, you know, with these certain things behind it. You know, the more direction you give, the better the image will or could be. And those have just improved, you know, as we've seen over the last few months, as we've put in more, you know, people put in more queries and we've generated more images, it really has grown and adapt. And so even today, looking at those images, they look so much better than they did, you know, back in October when this was announced at Unboxed. And I think some of that is Amazon Ads is forcing everyone to add images to certain ad types, to their sponsor brand headline images. I mean, sponsor brand headline ads. And if you don't have an image, it won't run. But if you don't have any creative, you're then using the AI tool. So I think it's kind of like it's you're being strong armed, like you've got to try it, you've got to come up with creative, or you've got to use this. And I think it's actually helping because more people are using it.
Yeah, I would agree, because sometimes that's the problem with Amazon. People are afraid to try the new things, and so it doesn't get that feedback. And anytime Amazon launches something new inside of Seller Central, there's always a button there to give feedback. And I think very few people do that. So just like the AI, we don't help to train the tool to be what we want it to be. We just spend a lot of time complaining about how it doesn't do what we want it to do. So that user adoption and the feedback loop and giving that, you know, information really does help. I think we have a link for that AI image generation tool. I think we can drop that at least to the announcement about it that came out at Unboxed. So you can check that out, but that is active live for all brands now, Alexi.
Yeah, no, it's all active for all brands as well as the video generator as well. And so again, it's just, you know, as we're talking about, you know, North America remote fulfillment as let's test it, see how these images do. Are things starting to improve if it doesn't look, you know, too fake or that kind of thing. But like, is this a good, you know, testing it before you then commit to, you know, images and stuff are really important and videos are very important when it comes to your listings and to your advertising on Amazon and, you know, especially TikTok and, you know, any of the social platforms. But it's a good way to test to see, okay, I saw this return. Now I'm going to actually put money into it to make these better. So it's really allowing you to test. Yeah, Nate.
Nate just got really excited.
Can we use that as a segue to talk about video?
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else with AI, because
There,
go ahead.
there are a couple other AI links I want to drop for everyone, but we'll get those links dropped while Nathan is talking about video. So go right into it.
Okay. All right, here we go. If you didn't attend the show or didn't attend this session, Rob from Video Fresh, who we're also going to be doing a podcast with him here shortly, but he did a great job. And to sum it up, what he recommended was having kind of going on more of like a micro level with the video SB campaigns. And this also could work on Google and off Amazon, but to be able to use the keywords that are working to update your video. And as an example, if you're selling a black shirt and it's wrinkle free, it's soft, and it's a new version of black that this AI company made up because everyone's using AI. So now based on the keywords and which one of those three values is growing, you're going to change in the video the order of which one of those values you are presenting. And so we will absolutely talk more about it when we have him on, but that was one of the coolest things that I learned at Prosper, which we've already started implementing, which is just taking the video, right, just like Alexi said, if it's working with an AI video, then you go a step further. This is kind of that next step, right? So how can you update it to where the keywords that you're seeing the highest click through, the best ACoS, you are then adapting your video, not even to shoot a whole new video, but doing simple edits to be able to make sure that the keywords that your customers are going after are at the very front of that video before they just start scrolling through.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one, and Rob always has really great content. We're super lucky to be partners with him, and definitely looking forward to giving a little bit more feature to some of that video stuff because, I mean, I'm sure we all know, but Lexi probably more than anyone, how important video is becoming. Not like forget e-commerce in general, but Amazon specifically, right? Everything in the Amazon world, especially related to ads, is all moving towards video content.
And you can use vertical video now on Amazon. So if you're got now, you know, whether TikTok makes it or not, you know, whatever happens, you could still use those videos on Amazon now. So
And where can you use vertical video? Like it came out that we can use them in post, right?
you can use it in post. They're starting to kind of roll out into sponsor brand. I think it's still in beta into some brands. I don't think it's fully rolled out to everybody yet, so don't quote me on that. But I know it's fully in post. But yes, it is something we're seeing more of across the platform. And I have seen it in my own Amazon search on accident, like seeing a vertical video. So I think they're still playing around with what those placements look like. And posts can live on the product detail page here and there. So we'll see kind of how that rolls out, but vertical video is becoming a thing. So
Embrace it. Just real quick, I want to just mention the two other additional links that were dropped in the chat related to AI, because there are two big new tools that came out from Amazon. One also was announced back in the fall, the generative AI like listing optimizer tool. Where there's can be some suggestions for changes you should make, but just within like the last week or two, there was also an announcement, that's our second link there, the Amazon URL listing creation, where, and this hasn't rolled out to all users yet. This is something that I think it's still in a beta, but it is an open beta where it's going to be rolling out to all users in the next couple of weeks. If you have your own website and you already have your products listed there, you'll actually be able to just drop in the URL to your own website for that product page, and Amazon will create the Amazon listing for you using the information from your own website. So that one's really interesting. I've seen it in action minimally at this point. So if you are a user who has that access already and you're using it, we'd love the feedback on it. Drop it in the chat here or share it with us afterwards. We'd like to see how that's working out for you, because I can imagine that it's super helpful in a lot of ways. And I can imagine, just like those AI fails that we shared, that there could be some problems with that as well. So definitely share your feedback on that, but check out those two tools. I think they're going to be really, really helpful moving forward with some of those tasks that just take a lot of time getting your brand or new products on Amazon. And somehow we have 5 minutes left, so we're definitely not going to cover everything we planned today. I know Nathan got to kind of give us his favorite thing from Prosper, so maybe Alexi will, if you guys have one more favorite thing you want to share, and then I think we're just going to have to cover the rest in some YouTube shorts. So we'll do a YouTube video for each of these 4 topics, diving into some of the things we didn't get to cover here. We'll share you those when they're available. But as a closeout, yeah, I'll throw it over to you guys. Will, Alexi, whoever wants to go first, or if, you know, neither of you have anything, but yeah, whatever your favorite thing from Prosper was, if you want to share that, the floor is yours.
I can go first. So yeah, I was ladies first, but I got you. I have two. I have a tie, really close tie. Mine was, we already talked on it, was TikTok. I just think what they're doing and how they're innovating is really cool. The access of how they're tying as you get into the marketplace, how they have forums already built out with their influencers and the level of those influencers, and you being able to kind of shop it and them also shop you if they're interested in doing that. There's some really cool communication that can happen there right now. The other one was actually Amazon Freight. Amazon Freight was really, really cool to me, just to be able to get a really cool demo. We already have a strong contact now within the Freight program, but you're able to use all 60,000 freight trucks within the US for you to be able to go from warehouse to warehouse, not even just Amazon warehouses. So I thought that was mind blowing. Actually, we had an interesting encounter with a potential brand partner with Alexi met there. And he was telling me all the painstakes. And I was like, oh, literally the conversation I left is the answer to all of your problems. And I walked him over there and immediately he got set up. It was really cool just to be able to see. And on amazonfreight.com, they actually have a calculator where it's a little version of a calculator, but you can put in 2 destinations and then they'll shop that for you and immediately show you the price. What was cool about that is those prices are set and it's not based upon how many pallets you're actually doing. So it's based on how much space is available. If they can fit your whole load, perfect. So I know that Nathan and I actually put in a location, I believe it was from like San Diego to somewhere on the East Coast, and it ended up being like $500. And I was like, wow, that was really, really impressive. And just to see how quickly you can get it. The main catch there is just you have to make sure it's along their routes. They're not going to deviate majorly from a route, but they are willing to accommodate to your warehouse, to another non-Amazon related warehouse or an Amazon. So again, that was my big takeaway. Alexi, over to you.
Real quick, Alexi, before you go, we do have a link to share to the Amazon Freight page. So I'd like to drop that link in the chat, but also then want to follow up with that. Go check out the page, but then reach out to us because we can help you get connected with an account manager who can work with you directly on your shipments. And we might even have some perks available to you, working through our account rep there. So check it out. If you're interested, reach out, we'll get you connected. And Alexi, now it's really
Yeah, no, I would say my biggest takeaway, I think, is I loved the range of topic levels of our topic experiences. There was still some, lower level, more basic presentations that were, so like some of those more basic things were not forgotten about. And then there was still bigger topics that dove really deep for people that were already, they knew about DSP and now they're going to talk like really about AMC. That's kind of that next level. I don't need an intro to DSP again, but then there was a session for that. And they had a lot of like 20-30 minute sessions about, that gave you good nuggets of information without sitting through a 50 or an hour long session. So even, not forgetting about those large SKU businesses that I think we forget about. I really enjoyed that session of just like small takeaways, 20 minutes. If, how do you have a massive catalog. And I mean, that place was packed. It was like a little tiny room and there's probably like 60 people, like all jammed in to listen. So it's like those large, and these were all people with thousands of SKUs. Like that still exists. And that's a huge part that I think we don't always talk about, that those businesses are so big on Amazon. And so, yeah, I loved that. And so handling those, how to thriving in the jungle, is what they called it. So if you want to know more about that one, let me know. I love stuff like that, but, yeah, large SKU catalogs.
awesome. Yeah, so much great content on so many different areas. Silly of us to think we could cover it in an hour when it was a 3-day show. So we will definitely have follow up for you. We did have one last minute question come in, so I'm going to go ahead and answer that. Anybody who needs to drop off, we want to be respectful of your time. So please go ahead and do that. Real quick before I answer that question, want to remind you all of the links in the chat will go away when we end the webinar. So go ahead, make sure you grab any of those you're interested in before you drop off. This is recorded. Recording will be shared tomorrow sometime, usually within about 24 hours. So thank you for everyone who did join, who has to drop off. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up this question. Panelists, if you can stay and help answer, great. If you've got to go, we understand that too. So this question's about Amazon shipping. Has anyone used it? Seems to offer better freights than UPS and FedEx. So this is separate from Amazon Freight. This is Amazon's small parcel carrier, and it is actually available for Amazon partner shipments, but also for shipments that you want to do for, you know, other parts of your business as part of Supply Chain by Amazon. So Supply Chain by Amazon would be the page to check out for that. Anybody here have used it with any clients, or Nathan, for any of your other businesses, any feedback on that?
No.
It's okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I haven't used it on any of my businesses. So, and Alexi, I don't know if you know of any clients who are currently using it, but from what I've heard from others, it's going well. But I don't have any direct experience.
Yeah, early on, I did not love it. Early on, there was no tracking available. And so basically you were giving your stuff over to Amazon with no oversight and no ability to fight anything. And that changed pretty quickly because I think there was a lot of negative feedback on that. And yeah, other than that, everything I've heard since has been good.
And the warehouse distribution, is that the same? Are those used interchangeably? Are they
No,
different?
but they are connected. They're all part of that Supply Chain by Amazon now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. The warehouse distribution, I had a client look into that and it just didn't make sense for their products, but I know you helped some with him on that. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how connected those were. Because sometimes things get interchanged depending
Yep.
on the platform. So
Yeah, and the acronyms that Amazon uses. But yeah, what Alexi's talking about is Amazon Warehousing and Distribution, AWD, and that is also part of Supply Chain by Amazon. It is a full service. It can serve your Amazon business or other parts of the business. It can upstream from those warehouses into FBA, which can save you on some fees. So again, check out that Supply Chain by Amazon page, but it's also something else we can give you more guidance on for checking out if that's something you're interested in exploring.
I know we're out of time, but speaking of fees, just with the new fees on, right, if you have too little or too much inventory, if you're under Amazon, what Amazon wants you to be at, or 30 days above, right? Like this is a good solution to help with that, right?
Yes.
So maybe it didn't work for you before, but now it might be time to reconsider.
Yeah, a lot has changed with AWD and all of those perks that are available if you adopt it. It's definitely worth checking out again if you had a bad experience or didn't think it was right for you at the time. All right, we are 3 minutes over. We really appreciate anybody who stuck with us, appreciate the questions, appreciate all of you being here today. You should get a survey when this closes out. Any feedback you have, we really appreciate it. It helps us create future events and make them even better for you. So definitely fill that out, leave any comments. And then I know in the chat, all of our socials and everything were shared. So please do grab those and feel free to reach out to us that way as well. And on the registration page for this, you should have had, you know, access to connect with any of us on LinkedIn, which we definitely encourage you to do, and to follow AO2 so you can see when we're hosting these events in the future. So thanks, everyone. And we will see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
I-
Appreciate it.